Sir, you are supposed to be a straight man. What are you talking about? What's up, guys? It's Devin Harrington, the average Gen Xer. Welcome back to my channel, where today we're going to take a look at some posts that are asking the question, is life meaningless without children? Now, this is clearly a child-free channel. I am a child-free person, so obviously my short answer is, of course not. Life has whatever meaning you want to assign to it. If you don't find meaning in having babies and raising kids, then you shouldn't have them. If you do, then that applies to you. But there is no one way of life, and it really seems lately, particularly in the US, that society at large is pushing for the version of America that existed for a brief moment in the 1950s before they started shipping all the manufacturing jobs overseas. But this, picket fence, marriage, kids, father works, blah, 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 leave it to beaver type existence. I mean, maybe some people have that, but we now act like that is the pinnacle of human happiness, like it's something to strive for. The 1950s are over. That life doesn't exist. That world doesn't exist anymore. So why should we live like that? So let's check out these posts and find out, do people really think life is meaningless unless you have children? Let's check them out. But first, if you are an animal lover, on every video on this channel, I encourage, beg, and plead with all animal lovers out there, please consider fostering or volunteering on site for your local animal shelter. And if you watch my content, you know that this beautiful girl is Goldie. She's been my foster for about 4 months now. And exciting news, she had a really good meet and greet today with a potential adopter, and I'm 98% sure he's going to adopt her. But if you watch my channel, you know Goldie has been adopted and returned about 27 times, and I'm exaggerating, but she has been adopted and returned a couple of times through no fault of her own. It just comes down to how ready and prepared people are to understand canine behavior and learn and know how to take care of a dog. Anyway, she met a really nice young guy, and he is all excited to be a doggy dad. And so we'll see what happens tomorrow. So I'll let you guys know on my next video. But if you love animals, please give it some thought. Help save the world. Do it for the animals. Thanks. Okay, so this first post is from the Child Free sub, and it's by user Toxic Tiger Lily. And they ask, what is the point to life without children? I do not want kids, but my fiance just said there is no point to life without them and nobody to pass on your assets to when you die. Is that why you want to have children, sir? So you have someone to leave whatever funds and miscellaneous crap that nobody wants you have left when you die? I mean, that's an asinine reason to have children. You can leave all your shit, all your money to the charity of your choice. That's what you can do. That's who you can leave it to. You don't need to have kids to have someone to pass your assets on to. That is fucking idiotic. She goes on, we've been together 6 years. He has known since the beginning I never want children. I was very open about it right away. Good on you, ma'am. And while initially upset, he said he's okay with it and wanted to spend his life with me. Now he just told me there's no point to life. He also said there's no point in having sex if you're not trying to have children. Sir, come on. Sir, you are supposed to be a straight man. What are you talking about? Humans aren't even the only species that have sex just for pleasure. Oh, God, it's so stupid. So clearly, ma'am, you need to break up with this guy because he seems to have lost his mind or had a religious conversion, and they're not compatible anymore. The comments on this one, No Albatross said, there is no point to eating unless you strictly do it to fuel your body. Please tell him this the next time he's indulging in a piece of chocolate or wants to treat himself. Yeah, seriously, like he started out with, yes, I understand you don't want kids. I am somewhat disappointed, but I can certainly live without children. He went from that to, we shouldn't even be having sex unless we're trying to have a kid. Like, dude, what did you smoke? Because that makes no sense. Used Tongs said, the funny thing is, there's no point to having children or even life anymore. Humans are populated enough that not everyone needs to have children. Now we just live. Yes, exactly. And they also added, life's pointless, so find something fun and don't worry about others' opinions. Sage advice, Used Tongs. And I also agree. The world is way overpopulated, and I will die on that fucking hill, because there's always going to be people that say, oh no, there's plenty of land left. Like, let's fill up the entire world until humans are just standing shoulder to shoulder. What the fuck? So stupid. Or there's always, our religious friends who come and say, the Bible says to be fruitful and prosper. And yes, we done did that. There's way too many of us now. For those of you who weren't alive to remember the mid-1970s, now the world has always had problems. No era is perfect, but there were only 4 billion people on Earth in the 70s. And people talk about the 70s when shit was cheap and there was plenty to go around. And yeah, I know there was a gas shortage, but whatever. There was just, the world was a lot more relaxed. So yeah, in my humble opinion, the world is overpopulated. I agree with this person. And with the state of the climate, the planet, the way humans are treating each other and the planet, why would you bring innocent babies into that mess? And then you're just going to die and leave them to it. So yeah, thanks. Chefin' for real said, smack that shit out of his hand and remind him there's no point. Also, when he's super horny and you're being really sexy, pack that shit up and remind him there's no point in such pleasure, and go sit on the couch and play with the cats. True. Beast King Snow Lion, a little off topic, but that reminds me of people who think the arts aren't important and artists don't deserve to make a living because art isn't strictly necessary for physical survival. Yeah, the fuck it is. We've been making art since we lived in caves, and that art still survives to this day. And all great societies of the past funded their artists, because we have to have thinkers and creators, along with the engineers and mathematicians and politicians. Beast King Snow Lion finished it up saying, it's such a weird robotic way of thinking either way. Like, people think only survival and reproduction have any value. And Vettige said, this comment is gold. And yes, I would agree. That is a very bizarre way to think, that the only reason you're here is to make more humans. That's how the rest of the world thinks, but every other species except humans thinks that way. And we're supposed to be, the ones that are the apex, because we have a consciousness that lets us ask ourselves why we do things instead of just doing them robotically. It is very strange. And if you are someone who feels that way, who believes with your heart that it is your job to have kids, by all means, you probably should have kids. You probably be great at it. Someone who deleted their account said, yep, the human race will survive without my crotch goblins. I love the term crotch goblins. It's really on the nose. Alone Duck said, the human race will probably survive much longer because some people are choosing not to have kids. Well, there you go. That's one way to look at it. And I bet they're right. Next post is also from the Child Free sub, and it's by user Miniature Librarian. Without children, life has no purpose. And this is a rant. I have to get this argument off my chest because this has to be one of the dumbest bingos out there. When I first started making content on the child-free movement, I really had never heard that term, bingo. And it's, if you're unfamiliar, it's basically when a child-free person says, I'm not going to have kids, I don't want kids, and it's all the things that you hear. Who will take care of you when you're old? Like, bingo, gotcha, that kind of thing. She goes on. So you're saying our only purpose for existing is to reproduce, to create more people whose only purpose for existing is to reproduce, to create more people whose only purpose for existing is to reproduce. Yes, brilliant. Fucking brilliant. So what if your kid or grandkid decides to be child-free and ends your family line? Does that mean your own flesh and blood, no matter how much you love them, suddenly has no purpose in this life? Does it erase the purpose of your entire family tree? The things they achieved, the experiences they had, the love they felt? Does all of it mean nothing as soon as the sun explodes and humanity is erased for good? I don't think so. I think there is so much more to life than being a parent. And actually, reproducing has nothing to do with being a parent. Anybody who's fertile can reproduce. It's a rare person who's fertile that reproduces that is a good parent. She goes on, I respect those who want to be parents, but not when they think it's the only path, not when they sell their sense of adventure, their identity, and their dreams to do it. Amen. What a great post. I still have no one has said life without children is meaningless, and here are the reasons why. It's just, I know I sound like a broken record, but life without kids is meaningless to me is another mid-20th century notion that doesn't hold up anymore. It just doesn't. And throughout human history, I would probably understand like why people felt that way, that they had to have kids so that something of them could go on, because most people throughout history spent much of their time just trying to survive, and you didn't survive very long. So I can see how that notion of, you have to have children so that your line, your bloodline goes on. The human race used to be all in on bloodlines. And now people are waking up and thinking things like, hey, I don't want to doom someone else to my genetics, so I'll be the end of this bloodline. And it's not the only reason I chose not to have kids. It's probably reason number 781 is that I don't want to possibly doom another person to addiction and depression and all the crap that runs in my family. Besides the fact that I never wanted kids. Anyway, yeah. Now the tide is turning. People are realizing life is fucking short and shit is going down these days. So do you want to spend your life raising kids, being, sacrificing your own life to give your kids a good life? Because that's what has to happen. Unless you're a shitbag and you have money and you just let someone else raise your kids, what's the point? Then you're just having kids so you have someone to leave your assets to. Jesus. Camino said, and this is a 30-year-old woman who is an anti-natalist. Go, girl. Our only purpose for existing is to reproduce, to create more people whose only purpose for existing is to reproduce, to create more people whose only purpose for existing is to reproduce. A nightmare of endless replication. Their ideals are no more sophisticated than that of bacteria in a petri dish. Very true. I mean, every organism on Earth, that's what drives them. Reproduce. Eat, reproduce. And that's not, humans are supposed to be smarter than that, because we are the ones that have the biggest negative effect on the planet. Clash Bandicooty said, it's hard not to see the human race as a cancer, for sure. The development of abnormal cells that divide uncontrollably and have the ability to infiltrate and destroy its surroundings. Wow, very true. Contributing to growth of the human race is something I refuse to do. Amen, Clash Bandicooty. You just nailed it. That's exactly how I feel. There's way too many of us. There's nothing special about anyone that would demand that you have children, because there's no guarantee your children are going to turn out anything like you if you're some superhuman. Unusual Quality said, couldn't have said it better myself. Yeah, totally. That really is a great comment. Total Fan Freak said, no, it's just the second part. Life has no real purpose. It's whatever you make it. Yeah. If getting up every morning and going to work at a fast food restaurant for your entire life and doing your job better than anyone else does it, if that gives you meaning, then you have a life of meaning. It doesn't matter. And I say that because I just read about this guy who worked at McDonald's for 34 years. He happened to have Down syndrome, but he was a badass at his job, and they threw him a big retirement party. And you can't say that guy's life doesn't have any meaning because he doesn't have kids. Jeez. Okay. Silly Name says, that's what I love about nihilism. Life, the universe, everything is inherently meaningless and without purpose, because all meaning is made up by people. So you can make it mean whatever you want, for you at least, because nothing lasts forever either. But that's what opens up all the possibilities. Yeah, it's kind of like if you just accept the possible meaninglessness of the entire universe, that we're all just here by accident because this floating rock landed the exact distance from our little star that it would produce enough oxygen to make water and stuff would grow. I mean, it really could be that. It kind of takes the pressure off. You don't have to make every moment of your life be like a fucking commercial during the Super Bowl, And that's American culture. We just want to keep pushing and pushing and pushing because we need that dopamine fix, And it's just ridiculous to live that way. Dis-ease said, I kind of feel bad. I can't imagine having a whole world full of places to discover, hobbies, things to learn and make, yet believing your life is meaningless without completing a biological function? That's a great way to put it too. Seriously, if you don't have children, you have so much time to do everything your little heart desires. And yet that's meaningless. It's meaning all the hundreds of dogs whose lives I have helped make better in some way, along with the army of other animal volunteers. That's not fucking meaningless, whether any of us have children or not. It's just asinine that anyone thinks this way. What you do, what you accomplish in your life is your legacy. The children you produce and bring into the world is your lineage, and your lineage may suck ass. Your lineage may be dead of a fentanyl OD before their 21st birthday. You never know these days. So go out in the world and do good things. Be kind. Do something for someone else. I'm telling you, volunteering is a great addiction. You really do get a great virtuous high off of it, along with accomplishing a lot of good work. Anyway, I'll get off my damn soapbox. Dis-ease went on, and they're not really doing much of a service. Most of us are average and will have average kids. Yes, very true. Sure, they'll pay taxes, but they'll also take resources. Yes, nobody is special. Nobody needs to reproduce. If you're so special that the world is in love with you, then that's you. There's no reason why you need to bring someone else into the picture that is now going to be burdened with trying to live up to your greatness of whatever kind. I mean, I wouldn't want to be the firstborn of a famous legend of anything. That would suck. I mean, you would want to just go off and do your own thing. I don't know how I got off on that topic. Anyway, Hearten the Blender said, I think the ratio still works. They will contribute more than they will take, especially if they're born to a lower class. That's why birth rates declining in these circles are the main problem, especially in capitalistic systems which depend on leeching off these classes. Yeah. Well, that's definitely what's happening here in the States. Nobody can You can have a master's degree, you can have a goddamn doctorate, and you still can't find a job that you can actually have a decent life on. And nobody wants to further burden themselves with children and bring children up in a stressful, chaotic world, uber capitalistic world. It's just there's no meaning to it. Old Teapot said, let's assume what the poster says is correct. This means, 1, if their child is not able to have children of their own, their child's life would be considered meaningless, and they are the sole reason for that. Right. So if my life is considered meaningless because I didn't have children, does that mean part of my mom's life is meaningless? Because she had 4 children, but only one of them had children of their own. So maybe she's like only has 25% meaning. I don't know. This makes no fucking sense. That's why it sounds so stupid. And number 2, they are having children to find meaning in their otherwise meaningless life. This is a very selfish reason to have kids. Spoiler alert, they all are. Yes. Tell me one non-selfish reason why people have children. Please, if you know of one. I would love to know, because I feel like they're all selfish. So I would love to know if you can come up with a reason for having kids that doesn't bring gain to you or glory to you or whatever, give you someone to wipe your ass when you're old. An unselfish reason. I'll wait. And here is another person on the child-free sub who has had it with hearing the quote, "Your life has no meaning without kids." This is from user Sweet Screams 1. I am so sick of hearing/reading this. I can't comprehend the thought process behind this statement. Yeah, I can't. I don't understand it either, especially at this point in human history. And look at all the things we have figured out. This is like witchcraft, magic. I love it. It's brilliant. And look at all the incredible inventions we have come up with, and yet you have to reproduce. That's like the best thing you can do. It literally requires 0 effort to reproduce for many people. They go on. To me, the idea that some people seriously believe your life is meaningless if you don't have children is insane. Agreed. Not only that, but it's sad, totally. Basically saying that if you don't have children, you don't have a purpose. That's pretty much exactly what they're saying. Your life is worthless and you must be lonely and bitter. Now, that's the part I don't get. Does it really not occur to anyone that some people just prefer to be alone and they're not bitter about it? I mean, they may be bitter about something else that happened in their life, but, this is more of the old maid trope. It applies to men too, apparently. If you decide not to have kids and you just live by yourself, people feel sorry for you. I mean, don't threaten me with a good time. If I had to live truly by myself, like no animals, which I have, yeah, I wouldn't really care for that. But people consider by yourself if there's no humans around. And a lot of people like it that way. So that's why I make this content, because we have to keep talking about that until that becomes a totally normal life path, is to just do your thing, be yourself, not burden the world or anyone else with more humans. They go on. When most of the time, it's the opposite. I'm young, I don't have children, I don't want children. In fact, I'm getting my tubes removed because of that. Good on you, sis. I couldn't be happier with that. I don't want to spend my entire life taking care of a child, spending an insane amount of money on a child, possibly giving up my mental health, my physical health, and my private life for sure. Risking my life when giving birth. Then she is not wrong. That is all 1,000% true. All of that sounds like a nightmare to me, a nightmare I will not go through. Yeah, how can your life be meaningless because you don't have something that you never wanted to begin with? Explain that to me. They go on. So, no, my life is not meaningless just because I'm child free, and I wouldn't want to have anything to do with someone who claims that. Thank you for listening to my TED Talk. Anytime, sweet screams. Petra Summer said, "It's up to you to decide what you want from life. It's not up to anyone else to define you." I would also say, just like I'm taking, yeah, this is like throwing spaghetti at the wall or whatever, but it I kind of wonder if this whole life is meaningless without children kind of thing comes from, how do I say this without offending someone? The patriarchal societal habit of telling women specifically, have a baby that will settle you. That's what they used to say. Oh, she just needs to have a baby. That'll settle her, regardless of what your problem was. And women have always been told that. They're still told that today. You're not a real woman unless you have kids. You're not a real woman unless you give birth. You're not a real woman. You're still a child yourself. You won't know the greatest love. Some people really, really, really love seafood and sushi and all of that stuff. And I would rather eat dirt. So how do I feel bad about missing out on something I don't want? I mean, I don't know why people think that having kids is any different. X System of a Frown said, "If your life is meaningless without children, it will still be meaningless after you pop them out." True. Seriously. And, the whole term life has meaning, life is meaningless, it doesn't mean anything. It's just like word salad in a way, because everyone's individual. The way that I foster all these dogs gives my life great meaning, helping them find their forever homes. I mean, I don't know how anyone could say that's not meaningful. And if it's meaningful to me, that is what gives it meaning. If you are someone who finds having children does give your life meaning, then you should absolutely do it. But I think what most of these people are saying is they just wish that it would be normalized to think that there is another way to live. You can have a perfectly happy, productive, meaningful life without reproducing. And the same goes for having a partner. You can choose to be single all your life. God, you'll get so much shit done. Anyway, Shepherd 4592 said, "I feel sorry for people who say that. It's also very narrow-minded. Kudos to you if having kids gives your life meaning, absolutely. But it is a little presumptuous to assume that applies to everyone. Yes. Our purpose in life is not to reproduce. We have free will so that we can choose how we want to live our lives instead of being driven by instinct like an animal, like all animals." I mean, certainly there are species that have more complex levels of thinking, dolphins, elephants, whales, I think dolphins' brains are larger than humans. I wish dolphins would rise up and take over the world because we're doing a crap job. The OP said, "Preach." Luxury Prison said, "Okay, I didn't ask to be here. I'm just here against my will. No one said my life had to have meaning. I'm just the product of someone else's American dream, and I think it's selfish to do that to someone else." Yes, to all of the people who were planned or, wished for by their parents, you may not have turned out at all what they were hoping for. And I know, like, people think, oh, aren't you excited one day you'll get to walk your daughter down the aisle, and they have this image in their head of what it's meant to be, and your daughter may not turn out to be anything like what you imagine. So it is selfish to hang your hopes and what you project, what you think life is about, to project that on your kids, because your kids are going to grow up and they're going to have free will, and they may not like your religion, and they may not like your abuse, and they may not agree with your parenting style, and they may not like your politics. I mean, on and on and on. So the fact that we have free will and we can sit and fucking think Should I really bring another person into the world? Is it a good idea to bring a tiny, helpless infant into my life, whatever situation I'm in at the moment? I mean, let's just make that more normal. Just because some people can get pregnant at the drop of a hat doesn't mean it's a good idea. And that's what I have for you today, guys. If you like this video, please like it, hype it, do all the cool YouTube things. Please let me know in the comments what you think of these posts. Were you told ever that life is meaningless without children? I definitely have been told that, but children are the whole point of life. Well, no. I mean, Dolly Parton never had children. Are you saying Dolly fucking Parton's life is meaningless? Come on. Anyway, sending all of you guys love. Thank you for stopping by to hear me talk shit on the internet, and I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you so much.